All right, to one of my favorite guests on this show. Will the midterm elections be hacked? It is a big worry for my next guest. He thinks that electronic voting could open a can of worms. Who does he think the worms are? Well, with us now, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Robert, good to have you back.
Good to be here. Thanks,
Your big problem is this electronic voting, that there's essentially no paper trail for it, so easy to steal elections, in a nutshell, right?
That's one of the problems. And this is a problem, as we talked about on the break, that should concern Republicans and Democrats, because both Democrats and Republicans steal elections if they're given the chance. And right now, the Republicans control a lot of the voting machinery, and the bill that kind of created this takeover in America of electronic machinery was drafted by the Republicans. And unfortunately, it's called the Help America Vote Act. And it was designed to fix the debacle in the year 2000 in Florida, but by modernizing voting in America. And the way that it did that was by mandating that everybody upgrade their technology to use these touchscreen machines. It provided $3.9 billion for the localities to buy these machines, but they also inserted a provision in it that said that every voting precinct must have at least one machine that doesn't have a paper trail. The way things work is that when they buy the machines, they buy all the same kind. So generally speaking, they bought machines that none of them had paper trails.
Why would they not want a paper trail?
Well, that's the question. You know, why do the Republicans not want a paper trail? There's actually a lot of Republicans that did. But Bob Ney, who was a partner of Jack Abramoff's and has now resigned Congress because of that scandal, made it, he was the chair of the committee. Diebold, the head of Diebold, was a very good friend of his, and Diebold makes the prominent machine that doesn't have paper trails. And so he basically wrote legislation that will favor this one company. But this company, and it's not just the fact that they don't have paper trails. All of them can be hacked. Even if you have a paper trail, you can be hacked.
So let's say that the Diebold had argued, look, it's all on a disk. You're saying that can be hacked, so let's have a paper trail to prevent either Republicans or Democrats from stealing these elections.
Right. I mean, the way it should work is you should go in just like an ATM machine.
Right.
You register your vote on a touch screen machine. It spits out a paper record. You can examine that record to make sure it counted your vote right. Then you take that paper record and you put it in a lockbox in the voting area. Then if there's any question...
Because that's something that can't be tampered with.
Right.
All right, now what is the Diebold and some of these others that make these machines, what has been their argument for not wanting to do that? They say the modernization, then the paper thing takes away the whole idea of having electronic voting, right?
I'll tell you what they did. They had a hearing on Capitol Hill that Bob Ney orchestrated. Diebold contributed $1 million to this tiny group called the National Federation for the Blind. Then the head of that group came and testified that blind people don't want paper records because then somebody could look at their ballot and they wouldn't have a secret ballot.
And you said that was bogus.
Right.
Diebold claimed that they were not giving money to causes and all of that. You're saying
they donated $1 million. That's a public record. But Princeton just released a study, Neil, 2 weeks ago. The Princeton Computer Labs that showed that a hacker with some knowledge of computers, if he can get 60 seconds alone with one of these machines, with a single Diebold machine, can insert a malicious code with a virus on it that will infect all the other machines.
All right, but I just want to be clear. Even though in your piece,
let me just finish.
Go ahead.
In 60 seconds, you can fix an entire state election.
All right, but I want to be clear because you didn't do this in your piece, but you are saying it now that this is a system that's ripe for abuse by both potential parties.
Of course.
So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying, look, better part of valor is just to keep everyone honest on both sides, have a backup paper trail.
Yes.
But now, where these electronic voting machines are being utilized, and increasingly across the country, that's not available?
Right. There's no paper trail on them.
So you're saying we're setting ourselves up for another...
We're setting ourselves up, and nobody else, we've basically privatized the entire election process, where these machine companies have to come in and run the election. They count the votes. The people who work in these polls don't understand how they work. So there's 4 companies. 3 of them have strong ties to the Republican Party. One of them, incidentally, the 4th one, has strong ties to Hugo Chavez and is more kind of liberal or left-wing.
So you're aghast at all of them, regardless of their connection.
All of them.
So if you found out, Robert F. Kennedy, I know your answer to this because you're a decent man, but if you found out that all 4 were aligned with the Democratic Party, you still would have written that piece. You still would have said a backup paper.
We've had,
right?
Obviously, this is this is a problem for our democracy.
So let's move forward here, Robert. You're saying that if we don't correct this,
let me just tell you what's going on Capitol Hill right now.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and this is going to sound partisan again, but the Democrats recommended this week that because the primary elections went so badly, you had thousands of people who were denied the opportunity to vote. Not only can the machines be hacked, but they're prone to breakdown. So they broke down. People weren't allowed to vote. So the Democrats on Capitol Hill said, okay, let's have a national initiative. It's called the Emergency Paper Ballot Initiative, where anybody who comes to a precinct, their voting machines are broken, we're going to give them a paper ballot. They're entitled.
And the mean old Republicans said no.
The Republicans said no. Not a single Republican would sign on to it. But then the Republican leadership said, we won't do, if you do this, we are going to force a national photo ID so that you can't vote unless you have a photo ID. Now, this is bad, Neil, because it prevents people, certain categories of people from voting who don't have the photo IDs and won't get them, basically people who don't have driver's license, handicapped people, urban poor.
I understand what you're saying, but could I get you to acknowledge this much, that where there are Democratic strongholds or heavy unionized locales, that there is just as much room for Democrats who control precincts like that to do the exact same thing you're alleging Republicans are trying to do?
Democrats can fix an election as easy as Republicans, and anybody who does it ought to be going to jail, and put them all in jail.
So why are you painting Republicans as the sole evildoers?
Well, the Republicans in this case are the ones that passed the legislation that got rid of the paper trail, and now they won't let us have paper ballots. So in this particular case, they're doing the wrong thing.
Well, I think you could find unanimity. I think you could find unanimity.
They may be doing the wrong thing.
It's a good point. I think you could find unanimity on just trying to find a paper backup to avoid that.
I think among the American people and reasonable people, everybody wants a paper ballot. But it's being blocked.
Let me switch gears here. I was bringing this up in the break. I don't mean to be in politics with you. Let's say Hillary Clinton gets elected President of the United States. That's a Senate seat that opens up in New York. Let's say Eliot Spitzer gets elected governor of New York. You two get along? Would he appoint you, Senator?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I think that would be a seat that I would be interested in running for. That was my father's seat.
Absolutely.
I looked at running for it the first time, but I had just had my 5th child when Moynihan announced that he was going to step down, so I decided not to do it, and Hillary ran for the seat. If the seat opened up, I would seriously consider running for it.
Did you ever say to her at the time, what are you thinking? You're not even from this state.
No, I never had that conversation
because your dad did something like that.
My father had the same.
But you would be interested in that Senate seat.
My father was accused of being a carpetbagger.
That's right. That was then. Hillary now. But you're from here.
That's right.
You could do it.
That's right.
All right. And you want to do it.
Well, yeah, I think at this point, I've tried to avoid that, going into politics all my life, but now I think the country is in a lot of trouble, and I would do it.
All right. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Always good seeing you.
Neil, thanks for having me.
Well, from a congressional email scandal to a daily dose of bad news in Iraq, you would probably think